and she's committed to her clients. And in the quest of her mission, she has helped almost 100 individuals. And she's committed to them, and she believes the best in them. So, all right, so let's give a virtual welcome to Dr. Irene Olumese as she comes on board. And please, let's get our pen and pencil, our pen, our book, our juice, coffee, tea. Let's put it beside us. And at the end of the class, we'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. If you have ideas, we'll give you opportunity to drop them. Thank you once again for joining today's masterclass. We so much appreciate your time. Thank you once again.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to this masterclass this evening. It is truly a joy to have all of you here, and I'm looking forward to an exciting time with you. My name is Irene Titilola Olumese, just like Pelumi has introduced. Thank you very much, Pelumi. Most of you know me, most of you may not. So I'm just going to say that I'm a lung transplant survivor. I'm a bilateral amputee, meaning that both legs are amputated below the knees. And I am very familiar with pain. And I've also learned a lot of lessons through what I have endured, which I'm bringing to board tonight to share with you. Just a few housekeeping as we get ready to go on. We would like you to stay muted throughout the period of this presentation, and because we are recording and we're going to be sharing this afterwards. We will also ask you to please keep all your questions until after the program, and you will have an ample opportunity to be able to ask your questions. And just as Pelumi has indicated at the beginning, as you join us, we would like you to indicate what your name is and where you are joining us from in the chat box. We'd love to meet with you and enjoy your company this evening. Okay, let's go on. All right, what is this all about when we talk about discover the power in your pain? So I'm going to share with you in a few minutes the reason for this class, this masterclass, what we hope to accomplish in this masterclass, and what you will benefit from this class today. So let's go. Now, the reason for this masterclass. First and foremost, we know that pain is unavoidable in this world. It is inevitable. And we will get to the reason why as we go on. Pain is also constant. We see it in different spheres of our lives and in different forms, in different shapes. Life will happen. It is not a matter of if, it is simply a matter of when. And because this is a faith-informed and biblical-based class, I will be sharing some scriptures as we go, right? Because we know that the Bible tells us in Isaiah that when we go through the waters, when we go through the fire, he will be there with us. It is not if, it is when. At one point or the other in our lifetime, we're going to go through situations that will challenge us. Okay. Now, so when this happens, what next? Do we just drop our hands and say, Ko sera sera? Do we decide that this is the end of life? There is nothing more to our existence? Or what? Yes, we may not have control over what has happened to us, or may still be happening to us, because some of us may still be going through these experiences, but we certainly have control on how we choose to see our painful experiences and how we respond to it. That control is still in our hands. That choice, that decision of how I choose to see my pain and how I'm going to respond to it and what I'm going to do with it is within my control. So what we hope to accomplish here today, the purpose of this masterclass is to help you discover what your pain has the power to produce. Power to produce. I want you to emphasize that, because power is pleasure. Power is effort. And that effort and pressure produces something. And what we want you to discover in this masterclass today is what your pain has the power to produce. If you will endure it with a mindset that is focused on what is positive, what is meaningful, and possible outcomes, possibilities. This masterclass is biblically based and it is faith informed. You will find scriptural references throughout the teaching, which provide a solid anchor for the transformation that you can experience if we correctly process the pain. I believe that our process of transformation, our ability to find purpose through our pain, needs to be anchored on something that is solid, something that is stable, something that is unshifting. And that will be found in the Word of God. And that's why you will find this presentation heavily laced with scriptures and biblical principles. This masterclass is also based on principles of trauma-informed care. As mentioned at the beginning, I am an integrated trauma-informed care specialist. That means I had training on how to help people manage trauma and to recover from trauma. My desire is to help you choose how you will respond to the painful experiences, to your life events, and help you begin the process of transforming your pain to something that is purposeful and life impacting. Transforming pain to what is purposeful and life impacting. What will you benefit from this masterclass? The changes that is caused by life's painful or traumatic experiences are inevitable. When something happens to us, it shifts us. It leads to a detour on our life's journey. Sometimes our life's journey now takes a path of twists and turns, valleys, shadows of, shadow of the valley of death, through the storms, through the fire, because of what happened to us. There is a shift, and that shift causes a change. But the transformation that we can experience while we go through this change is a choice. The change is inevitable. It's something that we cannot control, but what we get out of it is a choice. In this masterclass, I will share with you the lessons I learned from my 20 years plus of fury and painful ordeals with chronic diseases. We get to that. I will share with you how to purposefully move forward beyond your painful experiences by helping you to change your perspective to pain. And I hope to be able to show you that it is possible. It is possible to transform our painful experiences, our traumatic experiences, to something that is life impacting, something that is significant and meaningful, not only for us, but for others. Indeed, it is possible to transform our painful experiences to something that will serve a higher purpose that is beyond us, a purpose of eternal value, ultimately. My goal, to help you shift your mind state and perspective about the painful circumstances you have experienced or still may be going through. I recognize the fact that for those of us whose painful experiences are in the past, we still carry the memories of it. We carry the scars. And sometimes when we don't deal with them, the memories, the scars, they remain below the surface and they're festering. But I'm praying that by the time we finish this masterclass today, you will have a reorientation about what to do with your painful experience, despite the memories of it. I hope to be able to support you to experience that transformation and reorientation towards positive possibilities out of what happened to you. Yeah, a bad thing happened to me. Hurtful things happened. things that we did not expect, things that we did not ask for, things that we do not want. But what next? What can we do with it? How can we transform it into something that is positive, purposeful, and significant? I hope to help you to overcome your painful experiences and experience a transformation to wholesomeness or healing in the deep places so that you can move forward and live an impactful life. I will share with you the resources that we have available to you to accomplish what I have mentioned earlier. If you're still with me, can you just put in the chat box that yes, you hear me, you're hearing me, and you can also put in the chat box what is coming through to you as you're listening to me. So let's go to the next phase and examine trauma, examine pain. Because if we're talking about pain, what exactly am I talking about when I talk about pain? So what is trauma? Trauma is anything that happens to you. In the shortest form, it's anything that happens to you that overwhelms your capacity to bear it. Trauma, anything that happens to you that overwhelms your capacity to bear it. So a traumatic event involves a single experience or an enduring, repeated, or multiple experiences that can completely overwhelm an individual's ability to cope or integrate the ideas and emotions involved in that pain, in that experience. Now I said it can be one single experience that can change the trajectory of your life. It could be an enduring, repeated experience. I said, I had 20 years. I lived for 20 years with a chronic disease, with chronic diseases. So this was an enduring, repeated experience. And it could be multiple experiences. And within those 20 years of my life, I had other traumatic experiences. So for me, it wasn't a single experience. It was an enduring, repeated, and multiple. And yes, it did overwhelm my ability to cope with it. But within that context also, I will be sharing with you how I received the grace to be able to go through it and grow through it. Trauma can result from childhood abuses and neglect, undergoing repeated medical interventions, yes, accidents, natural disasters, witnessing of violence, war, as it's already going on right now in our world. We can hear wars and rumors of wars, and we know that those who are right in the middle of it are being traumatized by this event. And even those of us that are from afar, it is impacting us emotionally in one way or the other. For parents who have children in school in Ukraine today, you can imagine what they will be going through, that it has the possibility of overwhelming their experience, their ability to endure. Grief, loss, intergenerational and historical events. These are some of the things that can cause, we can refer to as traumatic experiences. And so what is pain? Pain could be emotional, it could be physical, mental, or psychological. And there are many different reasons for pain or our traumatic events. It could be self-inflicted, an act of our own wrongful decisions. It can be caused by unexpected tragedies like an accident. I work with amputees, women and children with missing limbs who drove out of their house in the morning, and by evening, their life has changed completely because something traumatic happened to them on the way in an accident. Pain can be caused by the behavior of other people, people who are in domestic violence. And even when it may not be physical violence, even the emotional abuse causes pain, and it is as significant, as important, and as impactful as the physical abuse. So this kind of pain is caused by the action of other people. In war times, people suffer pain because of the behavior and actions of others. And pain can come from mental and emotional trauma. And some painful experiences can be divine tests. Yeah, Job in the Bible is a good example of how painful experiences can really be a divine test to prove our ability to depend on God. What is pain? Continuing. Pain is a signal that something is wrong and needs to be addressed. And what I'm saying with this is that you cannot ignore pain. Pain is telling you something, and pain is not meant to be ignored. It means to be addressed, and suppressing pain never works. Emotional pain is a pain or hurt that originates from a non-physical source. It is in the heart. It is in the soul. It is caused by something happening around about you that is impacting you in the depths of your soul. It can result from regrets. I mean, there are people who have suffered the regret of an action that they took that is not right, and the regret and the shame of it has crippled their lives. Pain can be intense, and the pain we feel in one sphere of our lives can spread and affect other spheres of our lives. Emotional pain can impact both the physical and mental health of an individual. When you are sore within you, you're disheartened, you are, the pain, the wound in your soul is so intense, it can project itself even in physical pain. And you see people having physical symptoms, we call this psychosymptomatic symptoms, and they actually have physical pains, and they're in and out of the hospital. The doctors can't find out what exactly is going on with them, but because it's something coming from a deeper place, and obviously can affect our mental health. But also physical pain can impact our mental and emotional well-being. I went through 20 years of dealing with chronic diseases, and I was asked many times in that process by doctors, by nurses, how can you even keep smiling with all that you're going through? Yes, our physical pain can have impact on our mental and emotional well-being. Now, who can experience pain or trauma or suffering? There is absolutely nobody that is immune from pain or trauma or suffering. No. Being a Christian does not immune you from pain or suffering. In fact, it might actually expose you to more. At least 75% of the population of the world has experienced at least one traumatic event in their lives, one painful event. So because we say pain is universal, pain in the world is inevitable. None of us is immune from it, and none of us can escape from it. So the question is, what do we do with it? How do we handle it? Natural reactions to pain. Since nobody wants pain, I don't know anyone that I have seen who is in good mental state who wants pain. And when somebody actually inflicts pain on themselves, it is an indication of a problem in the emotion and mental health. It is an indication of something that has gone amiss that needs to be addressed. And so when painful experiences happen, the question we ask ourselves is, why me? Why did I have to go through this? and we want to avoid it. We want to get rid of it. We want to numb that pain. We want to suppress it. We want to run away from it. But between me and you, we all know that this never works. The pain never goes away. No matter how deep beneath the surface we push it, no matter how far we run away from it, it doesn't go away. So the question is, what about we face it and see what it can deliver to us? What about we process it and use it? Now, let me say this up front. We are not saying that we become fatalistic. That is an evidence of something wrong with our emotional well-being or mental well-being. If we are fatalistic, we don't go looking for pain. But when pain comes to us, we want to deal with it. We want to hold it, look at it, and handle it in a way that it will deliver something positive for us. So what happens when we don't process pain and we don't deal with pain? Here is what we see. Traumatic events can cause an overwhelming sense of guilt. You think that, okay, maybe there's something I should have done to prevent this from happening and I didn't do. Maybe this is because I did this. Maybe, in fact, some people even go as far as saying that maybe God is punishing me. It can't bring condemnation that chains us to the past. And those who experience trauma tend to blame themselves, even when they're suffering from pain caused by other people. You find people in domestic abuse blaming themselves for what the other person is doing to them. No. We are not responsible, even when we are the one who has acted wrongly. There is a place where we can pack that guilt, that shame, and pack it and step on it and let it be a springboard to the next level. Even when we have done something that led to it, we do not excuse those who have injured us. We forgive, we heal, but we do not excuse it. So we do not blame ourselves, even when we suffer from pain that is inflicted by other people. When we don't process pain, we become defined by the events of that pain. It begins to ooze in every sphere of our lives. An emotional wound can become a stronghold, a negative entrapment that takes a grip. It holds our lives in its tough tentacles, in its tight tentacles, and steers us towards depression, towards despair, towards discouragement. And like I did say before, the pain we do not deal with will seep out, it will ooze out in our future relationships. And that's where you find people in their relationships struggling because of the baggages they have brought in that they have not dealt with. And the other person who has also come into that relationship may have also come with baggages that they have not dealt with. And so marriage becomes difficult, relationships becomes difficult. And that's why it's so essential that we process our painful experiences and heal from them. People who hurt others are hurting themselves. It says, broken people break others. Hurting people hurt others. People who do not heal from pain, from traumatic experience, will carry this baggage into whatever relationship they have, and it can have an impact on their relationships. So we can overcome our traumatic and painful experience. It is possible. Healing is possible. But the problem is, trauma is not something we often talk about or readily admit. Sometimes it's because we cannot find a safe place where we can open up. And if we don't open it up, it festers beneath the surface. So how we process and interpret our painful experiences, our traumatic experiences, will influence its outcome. And that's why there is power in the pain. It is a power that can be positive or negative. If we don't process and correctly interpret our painful experiences, it will negatively impact us. If we embrace it and process it and reframe it and repurpose it, then it can have positive influence, positive impact. So friends, let me just drop this here. Don't keep quiet. Don't suppress your pain. Seek help and support. So you may ask, why pain? That's $1 million question. And if I get $1 for every time somebody asks me, why me, why pain, I will have billions ultimately. Or if each time somebody asks that question is dropping $1 somewhere, it's going to aggregate, considerably. But the truth of the matter is that we live in a fallen world and an unbelieving world. And there's so much that is tied to that. And what thing we know is that in this world, in its current state, we will have sorrows and trials. But praise God, this is not the end of the story. We can be courageous. We can stand strong through the pains because Christ has already overcome and conquered for us. That's what we read in John 16:33. And because he has done that for us, he has called us more than conqueror. So we can overcome this pain, even though we cannot control it when it happens to us. And one more thing that I want you to take note of here is that pain reminds us why we must long for Christ and for that place where there will be no more pain. Because if in this world alone we have hope, then we are for men most miserable. Because in this world, in this fallen world, there will be tribulations, there will be trials, there will be suffering. And therefore that tells me that I want and I desire to be in a place where pain will no longer be. The power in our pain, irrespective of the cause of pain, all pain has one thing in common. It is the redemptive potential to make an individual better. A family that has gone through painful experiences together, it does something to them. I mean, if they go through together and they walk through it together, it improves their communication, it improves their relationship. There is a redemptive potential in pain. Look at the pain that Jesus endured on the cross of Calvary and see what it brought to us. There is something powerful inside pain that we can discover. The ability to redeem, to make us better, to make us a better version of ourselves. And pain is indispensable for the purpose of God to be realized on earth. That's why Jesus had to endure pain. And so I am telling you tonight, I'm sharing with you this. Your pain can be a transformational process that brings you to a better place, to a better experience, to create a better version of you. And let me give you an example that I think all of us can relate with. For the women who wear gold, no woman is going to put on gold that has not gone through fire. We all know that except the dross has gone through, except the gold in its raw form has gone through the fiery furnace, it does not lose all the things that is not fit for purpose. It is in the fire that the pain, that the gold loses what is not fit for purpose, and it becomes brilliant and it shines brighter after it has gone through the process. And so pain, that's challenge, that ordeal can be a transformational process if we embrace it, if we process it, and if we repurpose it, we frame it. Pain, your pain has a voice. It is telling you something that you need to address. Your pain has a message. It is telling you that there is something that needs to be done as something that you can do. And your pain also has a purpose. Believe me, friends, pain is not purposeless. And your pain will not be in vain if you find purpose in it, a purpose that is higher than you. I just want to share a few inspiring quotes that have really helped me in my journey. And that is, if you focus on the pain, you will miss the purpose. Every Nigerian knows this minister, Dunsi Oyeko, what he went through when he lost his wife, the grief. And in the midst of that pain, he came out and said, if you focus on the pain, you will miss the purpose. We learn from pain. We can grow through pain. Emotional pain is not something that should be hidden. It's not something that we should never talk about. There is truth in your pain. There is growth in your pain. There is an opportunity for growth in every painful experience, but only if we bring it out in the open. And shame, the shame of pain dies when it is exposed in a safe place. Pain does not have to have the last word in your life. Your traumatic experience need not have the last word in your life. It is not all-powerful. God is the only all-powerful. And therefore, we need to take the power from pain and repurpose it to deliver something that is beneficial for us and to others. We take what is resident in it and purpose it to deliver something more meaningful. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute here because I've been talking for a while. I want to get some reaction from you. So I'm just going to take a look at the comments that you're sharing and see if there's something I can just quickly address there. If there's something that you're learning, I encourage you to share in the comment box what is coming to you. So I'm just going to pause for a second and give you an opportunity to reflect on what I have shared with you so far while I take a sip of water and just ask you to share in the comment box what is meaningful for you right now. What is meaningful for you as you're listening, because your time here must be meaningful. There must be something that you gain out of this time with us this afternoon. We just don't want it to be one of those events. We want this to be a meaningful event for you. So please share. I'm just going to pause a little bit for a moment and ask one person just to share in the comment box what is meaningful for you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go on. Okay. All right. This quote was one of the quotes that got me through my ordeals. It says, it is in the quiet crucible of your personal and private suffering that your noblest dreams are born and God's greatest gifts are given. There is another one that says that it is in the crucibles of our afflictions that the finest qualities of our character are revealed. Just as when gold goes through the crucible of fire to reveal the best, the shiniest part of it, so also when we go through these afflictions, sufferings, things are birthed in us. It brings forth something. Noblest dreams are born and God's greatest gifts are given. And believe me, I can testify that this is true. Now let's quickly just run through some examples that we've seen of pressing through pain. Hannah, as someone that we can all relate with, we know her. Her story is found in 1 Samuel in the Bible. She had a desire, something that she desperately wanted, and it was eluding her. She longed for it, but it seems as if it wasn't coming. Now, let's go back to Hannah. Her adversary provoked her and mocked her daily. Just stretch your imagination a bit and see where she was, being provoked on a daily basis by her adversary. Taunted. She felt the sorrow of having a problem being constantly thrown in her face. But you know what? Despite the pain, despite the shame, despite the taunting, she pressed beyond the pain. She sought for help in the right place from the Lord. She stayed in his presence. She was pouring out her heart. Please mute yourself. Can we mute, please? Can we mute ourselves, please? Thank you so much. She kept pressing beyond. She poured out her heart. Her pain produced a desperation that could not be ignored. It produced a desperate cry that could not be ignored by the only one who could help her. She didn't stay in the place where she was being mocked. She didn't stay in the place where she was being taunted and provoked sore. She pressed through the pain to go beyond it and sought out help. Let's look at Ruth. She lost something very important to her, very significant in her life, her husband. She endured the shame of widowhood in a culture where a male figure in your life is needed for livelihood. Literally, your meal ticket is your husband or your son or your brother, and she had none. The only woman left that she could relate with told her to go back. But this woman decided to press forward. She kept moving forward despite all the pushback. She endured hunger or famine and transitioned to a strange place, a place that she never knew before. And she was willing to labor in the midst of all she was going through. She rolled up her sleeve and said, no, I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to keep pushing forward. She pressed through. She served her mother-in-law. She stayed connected even in her pain, in her grief, in her loss. She did not isolate herself. She refused to go back to what was familiar. She moved forward. And these are examples that we've seen. So let me share with you my journey with pain. It is a long story, but I'm just going to give you the tip of the iceberg of this story. The first significant one that I want to bring forth was when I lost my daughter at 32 weeks as a stillbirth in January 1993. the grief and the pain of losing a child that I was expecting, the question I could ask then is, why is this happening? But you see, a long while before then, as far back as October 1984, I had a scripture, a word of God that was an anchor for me. And that word was in 2 Corinthians 1, chapter 3, verses 3-4. The Father of all, blessed be God, the Father of all comforts, who comforts us in all our afflictions with the same comfort with which we will comfort others. And so as I processed the death of my child, coming back home empty and empty-handed after 32 weeks of expecting to carry a baby, the only word that came through was, I will comfort you in all your afflictions, in this pain, with the same comfort with which you will comfort others. That was in January. 3 months later, I began another experience, which was a journey with a chronic respiratory disease and a debilitating neuromuscular disease. The combination of these two rendered me coughing nonstop every day for 20 years. I had 2 surgeries every 10 years. I had the first surgery, cardiothoracic surgery, in 1993 in June. I had a second cardiothoracic surgery in June 2003. And none of it could stop this cough that was literally depleting my life, drawing life from me. And while I was still processing, I remember it's a trauma, it's a single or multiple events or repeated one that endures for a long time. I had significant challenges in pursuing my career. And first of all, I was trying to get a doctorate, and it was opposed. It was a struggle. I mean, people that I expected to do right by me were the ones who actually went behind my back and tried to ensure that I did not get the doctorate. 2 elephants were fighting, and I was the grass upon which they were trotting. The pain, the hurt, the disappointment was huge. It was enough for me to actually wanted to pack it all up and say that I'm not doing anymore. And then I transitioned from that into a job and faced a different kind of challenge as well. When I was qualified for a position, but because of my health, I stayed in that position as a consultant instead of a substantive officer for 19 months, being a daily paid worker in a position where I was found qualified. I had to re-interview, reapply again for the same job, for the same post. Traumatic events sometimes overwhelms us. And if we don't have an anchor when we go through the storms, that storm can sway us away in a different direction. And then around that as well, because of the progression of the disease, I eventually had to give up my job in 2003 at the peak of my career, when everything looks like I was heading for management level. And with that loss of job and loss of stable income came another plethora of challenging situations. How are we going to pay bills, medical bills, children's school fees, mortgage on the house, loans? Needless to say, I have to say that those years of my life felt like being in a crucible, in a fiery furnace. I felt as if I was being consumed on all sides. But because I had this perception, this trust, this belief that pain is a process, I knew that it will burn off of me the things that are not fit for purpose. And ultimately, that version of me that will shine will emerge, because one thing that I know is that the eyes of the goldsmith is always on its gold while it is going through fire. He will never blink or turn away while that gold is in fire. And he will know just at the right time to bring the gold out of fire when he sees himself reflecting in the gold. My journey continued. I spent 7 years on supplemental oxygen from October 2017. My doctors told me that my lungs could no longer sustain or retain enough air to give me sufficient oxygen for a day-to-day living. So I transitioned to carrying oxygen bottles in my house, going out. I was hooked to a bottle 24 hours of the day. I'll show you some pictures as we go. And then I spent 3 years on non-invasive ventilation. So not only was I now hooked to oxygen, I was hooked to a machine that was helping me to breathe because I could no longer breathe by myself. Ultimately, it resulted to lung transplant in April 2013. And I had a lung transplant. I thought that was the end of it when I was going in. But barely 24 hours after the surgery, complications set in and my body, my system started shutting down. I had renal failure, so I was on dialysis machine on one side. My heart I had a machine that was pumping blood as my heart and lung machine. So I was on what they call an ECMO on one, I was on dialysis on the other. I was literally on a life support for those 5 weeks that I was in coma. And then I came out of coma 5 weeks later, and the doctors told me that I got strong lungs. However, because of the complications that I experienced while I was in coma post-surgery, both my hands and both legs will need to be amputated. Believe me, I was overwhelmed by what was going on in my life. But again, that's why we always need to have a solid anchor. And that's why what I do is always faith informed, because that's the only anchor that cannot shift in the storms of life. After 20 long years of coughing nonstop with pain, constant pain, living with constant pain, 7 years of having been on oxygen, being hooked to a machine for 3 years. And then I have the lung transplant, and they said it's strong lungs, and the doctor says both hands and legs will be amputated. That was just way bit too much. But thank God for the anchor that holds us in the storms of life. Today, here am I. Both legs amputated, hands miraculously recovered. I spent 3 months removing the scar tissues, the dead tissues from these hands. So that was me on oxygen with my nasal cannula. That was me going out with my machine, carrying the machine with me everywhere I go. It's my oxygen concentrator. And in the midst of all of this, 3 times a year, I will also carry, 3 to 4 times a year, I'll have to carry for 21 days an IV pump to deliver antibiotics to clear my chest. So I carry oxygen, I carry IV pumps around with me 21 days if I want to go out of the house, 4 times a year. And that was from 2008 until the surgery. And here was I, after I came back from coma in the ICU, still hooked to many machines. And this was where they delivered the news to me that the legs will have to be amputated. Through the valleys of the shadow of death, I was assured of God's love in the midst of all of this. When I see this picture, sometimes I wonder, how could this transformation could happen from the person that you are seeing in that picture to the person that you see today speaking to you? That is the transformation that happens when we take hold of pain and we process it. And so on the 31st of May, 2013, both legs, this legs that has served me for almost 47 years, had to be amputated. What did I discover from my pain? My painful experiences branded me with an acute sense of empathy for fellow human beings who are suffering from diverse situations. It reminds me always that I comfort others. We comfort others with the same comfort that we have experienced. We cannot give what we have not experienced. My appreciation of the Word of God was no longer an intellectual understanding. It was an experiential understanding. I learned that, I can comfort others with the same comfort that I have received, and that's where I am today. The pressure of pain squeezed out of me latent and innate gifts. I discovered I had the gift for creative writing in the cave of confinement when I was homebound with no more agenda, no more meetings to go through. There in my room, all alone, looking into the garden from winter to spring to summer to autumn, I found that I was sitting on a gold mine on my hands, because I literally sit on my hands. And that was when I started to write. It motivated me to go deeper in key relationships and have less motivation for the superficial one. I couldn't deal with people who are superficial or things that are superficial. Pain motivated me to prioritize my time and energy, because I had only few hours in a day that I could do something constructive. I had to be sure that I use my time right, because when the cough starts or the breathing problem starts, it totally can handicap me. I learned to use my time more purposefully. And it caused me to seek the Lord like ever before and to want to know him better, because I know that there was only way that I could endure the suffering was with his power and strength. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And I learned that our pain would be in vain if it does not become a gain for others. More lessons from pain. Painful experiences that produce learning opportunities. Pain will teach you to remain in the faith if you want to come out of it stronger. And enduring and withstanding pain or suffering produces perseverance. You can only learn to persevere when you have learned to endure, to suffer for long. And perseverance is a very strong character trait. We learn how to rise from falls and losses that causes pain and how to make the best of these situations. In the midst of all that I was going through, I learned how to make the best of my life and of my relationships. I learned that our worst mistakes can become our best teachers. Pain and suffering provides us a learning opportunity. We can learn from what has happened to you. You can learn from your experiences, and they're unique experiences that we have, that where we learn from it, we have nuggets, gems that we can share with other people. And that is the power that we bring out of pain that transfers other people's lives. And when we decide to endure pain of the moment and to keep moving forward, we become survivor. I am an amputation survivor. They become survivors. For we overcome by the grace of God. And friends, we can grow through the pain. Many times we say we are going through challenges. I'm growing through this challenge. I am growing through this challenge. So, what purposes has my pain birthed? Inspiring hope. I am here today inspiring hope because of what I discovered through my painful experience. The power of my pain produced by a hope for others. I know a few things about keeping challenges, and it is birthed. It has a coaching and a counseling service that is available to those who need it. So Beyond the Pain is a coaching and a counseling service. It is an online course, the Profit of Pain, that we're going to be sharing with you as we wrap up this conversation this evening. It has produced at least 2 books that is in print and many more that are yet to be in print. Grace in the Storm, a living proof, is this the story of that I shared with you in a few minutes. Grace in the Storms is the compilation of everything that I endured, some of it, actually not all of it. And when it's a 365 pages book that tells you how much that I had gone through that had to be captured in that book. And 55 chapters of God's grace and hope is a devotional, a compilation of inspirational messages that encourages you in your journey as you go through pain. Beyond the Pain is also Enriching Lives. It is a foundation that is providing limbs for amputees today. Purpose Beyond the Pain includes a business that is called Hands of Grace that produces jewelry that testifies of the goodness and faithfulness of God. And those who wear it. So friends, you can't waste your pain. Your pain, running away from it, is wasting your pain. Because your pain will be a waste. It will be in vain if it does not become a gain for others. Let me say that again. Your pain will be in vain or a waste if it and that's the whole essence of putting this together, to encourage you not to waste your pain, not to let him transform into what can serve a higher purpose, that can serve a gain for others, that can be beneficial for others. Our painful experiences are never purposeless. There's something that can be positive, some intensities. It is a matter of how you choose to process it. It is a matter of how you choose to reframe it. It is a matter of what you choose to make of it. So I can tell you with all boldness tonight that we can go beyond our pain and find purpose in it. And we have these resources available to you to be able to do it. And we're going to share more about this as we go into the section of questions and discussions. There is one-on-one coaching services with me where I can sit with you and hold your hand in a weekly meeting and coach you and help you to find purpose, to heal from the trauma from your traumatic experience, to help you to heal and to have a restoration to experience. It's the one-on-one coaching service. This could be for couples, could be for family together, could be for teenagers who have experienced traumatic events that they want to walk through. And there is coming this next month the Profit of the Pain online course. It is a 10-week course, and the first cohort will start on Saturday, March 26th. We're going to share in the comments the link to join that bootcamp. I'm going to give you some more information about it in a moment. There is a Facebook group that's called Purpose Beyond the Pain with Dr. Irene Olumese, where I share tips regularly of how you can walk through pain and find purpose beyond it. And there is also the opportunity of having a group monitoring with me. Now, the details of this, I will come back to it and share with you as we go into the discussion. We're going to come back to give you some more information of how you can benefit from these resources available to you. But we'll share the links to some of them in the comment box. We're going to encourage you that if you sign on for the the Profit of Pain course today, you're going to get a 40% discount. I'm going to share that information shortly. If you want the one-on-one coaching services, you can send a message to my email address, irene.graceinthestorm@gmail.com. if you're interested in taking one-on-one coaching service with me. The group mentoring as well, if you're interested in group mentoring, it's going to be a small group, and where you'll be there for about 6 months, and we'll be having meetings answering questions regularly on the group, and then meeting once a month in a Zoom to talk about the things that we discuss and take it further, answer your specific concerns. The Profit in the Pain online course will have an added advantage of being in the mentoring group and also having a one-on-one coaching session with me. We're going to share that in the, so this is a bit more about the Profit from the Pain. It's going to be, we're taking only 20 people for this class. And the first fast track, if you register today, you will have the opportunity of having the 40% discount on it. And from Monday, it's going to go to Oliver 15th. So I think it's at this point that I should share with you the link for it. Okay, let's stop share, and then we can have a conversation here. I want to thank you for listening, and we're just going to give more information as we go into the discussion period. So I'm going to rest my mouth now for a minute, and then open the floor for your questions and contributions, and it's not open for discussions. In the interim, we will also share with you the email address and the links to the registration for any of these courses if you are interested. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ma, for this high opener. I really learned a lot. Thank you so much, Ma. The floor is open for us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your questions. The link to the Facebook group.
Conversation now. We're opening it up for conversations, and now for you to be able to ask questions from what you have heard. And if there's something that you like to clarify, we're giving you that opportunity to do so now. Okay, we're also going to put my email address so that if you're interested in any of the services that the coaching that we're offering or the mentoring, so that you can send a message. You will get a link for registration that will be tailored to your specific need from that. Okay. All right, so I'm sharing now the, okay. So any questions in the comment box that I need to address to? Can you see any? Okay, let me see if there's anything here. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, specifics, right? You can unmute yourself and ask your questions at this stage. And if you are interested in joining any of the services that we have we have presented, you can do so. You can see the link both for the courses. If you're going to take the course on today, you're going to get a discount on it, and we're going to be promoting this going forward. If you want interested in the counseling or the coaching, you can send an email to graceinthestorm.com. So I'm waiting here to answer your questions. Let me see. Thank you. Thank you. Can we have the slides via email, please? No, we're going to just provide you a link to the YouTube. So if for those who have participated today, we're going to provide you a link to the YouTube where you can watch this more. You can watch more. And if you want to repeat it, we're going to give you a link to the YouTube. We are not going to send the slides out. Okay, let me see anything else coming in there. Okay, how can we?
There's a hand raised.
Oh, there's a hand raised.
Cookie has raised a hand.
Yeah, okay, please go ahead and mute yourself.
First of all, thank you so much for all that you've shared. You are such an inspiration. I listened to you and I realized that what I've been through is child's play compared. So I just want to share with everybody that the benefits of sharing and talking also helps one have perspective about one's own pain and so on, because there's always somebody who's going through much more than you. So thank you for that. I've really been encouraged because I've been through multiple health challenges and also living with an autoimmune condition. I would like to hear a conversation around living with a chronic disease and Christian faith, because the sort of attitude that I get from the Christians is almost as though, you know, maybe you don't have enough faith. Somebody will pray for you and you won't have to take all the tablets you are taking. And so I think that this is a very important conversation to have. But my question is, I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time. My question is, how do you deal with the frustrations that come every day? The sort of everyday niggly frustrations, how do you deal with those? And especially when others don't understand. They don't understand what you are going through and what you are dealing with.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. I have been there and I've had all sorts in the course of the 20 plus years of living with chronic diseases. I've had people tell me that maybe I have unconfessed sins. I've had people tell me that I should not manage with pain. I basically saying that I shouldn't use pain as a badge, right? I have been labeled with so many things. I've had people introduce me with 101 people that I need to go to pray for me. How did I cope through that? My anchor was in the word. And what I did that was very useful for me, and we'll be sharing more about this in all the other groups, is that, first of all, I had to settle something within me. And that is one, God is not a wicked God, right? Two, what I was going through was not purposeless. And when I could settle that within me, that what I was going through would serve a purpose that is beyond me, the next step for me was to begin to look out with hope of how this is going to serve a purpose that was beyond me. And so what that inspired me to do was to start taking note. I started writing my story, the book Grace in the Storm, as far back as 2001, when I had no idea where it was going. I started keeping notes. And so that when people read the book today, they wonder, how were you able to recall so much and be so graphic? Because I had settled in me that my pain would not be in vain, and my pain was not going to be purposeless. And that framed my focus. And it directed what I was doing with what people were saying to me. Believe me, I've heard it all and some more. But having a focus is important. Seeing beyond the pain keeps you taking one step in front of the other as you're going through. And that's what I bring on board to teach, to help people to redefine the way, to reframe the way they see the experience. I put all around my room stickers, they're still there today, of the words that were keeping me going. On my mirror in the bathroom, these two shall pass. Everywhere, the word of God literally surrounded me as I was taking my medications. Just as I was taking my medications, I was taking this word that was giving me a reason to wake up the following morning and get out of my bed. I can't share it all in one sitting, but I can assure you, my dear friend, that when we change our perspective and we find one, even if it's one anchor promise that we can hold us to, and when we get that truth to be embedded in the depth of our soul, that this pain, this experience will serve a higher purpose, it will drive everything else you do. How you process it, how you handle the tiny, every little frustrations. And believe me, those frustrations will come. There were days the fact that I couldn't go into my own kitchen and cook my own food frustrated me. The fact that I had to depend on my 14-year-old son to cook frustrated me. The fact that my husband had to leave work to come and serve me food in the middle of the afternoon when he should be at work frustrated me. And for somebody who had been active, but you see, I decided to add it all up and multiply it with grace and purpose. And it's that grace and seeing a purpose in it that kept me going on. That truth that God will not waste my pain. And if God is not going to waste my pain, I wasn't going to waste it. I hope that helps a little bit. There's a question here that I would like to address before I take the next person whose hand is up. Somebody asked, how were you able to overcome anger, bitterness after the amputation? I can imagine it was a long process. Interestingly, it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. Again, because I had a word before the amputation. And the word was that God was going to give me the feet of grace that would take me to places my natural feet could not take me, places beyond my wildest imagination. That word, and that's why I said what I do is faith informed, it's biblical based, because we need an anchor when we go through these things. I mean, I recall a nurse coming to meet me a week or two after my legs were amputated, when I was brought back to the main ward. And she was literally wailing that what has leg got to do with lungs? I had spent 10 years on that ward. I was a regular customer in that ward. I was there 3 to 4 times in a year. They knew my story for 10 years, from 2003 to 2013. They had been there with me. Then to see me saying that I was going for lung transplant and they're coming back a bilateral amputee was even tough for my nurses to wrap their heads around. And they were asking me, why are you not angry? Why are you not demanding that somebody should be made to pay for this? Why? I could not demand that somebody should pay for this. Is because I know that, number one, this was not an error. The audit had been done. And I had a choice. Either I was going to hold on to anger that this happened on top of what else I had gone through and fall into depression, or I was going to use it as a springboard to find purpose. And so for me, everything was being driven by the fact that this must serve a higher purpose. This was that. And so it was like, Irene, if you're going to tell this testimony, if you're going to tell this story, you better get your act together. If you're going to be able to say that God saw you through this, you need to get your act together and hold fast to the truth and not to the feelings. That was how I was able to deal with it. And so the first time that I had to put on my prosthetic limbs, it was still in its very raw form. It was very ugly. I remember that day vividly. I was sitting in the front of the cabinet where it was going to be done in the hospital. And for some reason, because my stumps were swollen, they had to bandage it and I had to wait for about an hour. It was as if there was a clarion call to call all the nurses and women in the hospital to come and do a fashion parade in front of me. Every woman who walked in front of me was summer. They were all wearing dainty slippers and sandals with manicured toes. And it was like I was being taunted and provoked. You will never be able to wear a sandal again. You're never going to be able to do manicure again. You're never able to wear dainty slippers again. That day it grieved me. And I won't lie to you, I went back to my room and I wept. And I refused to touch that prosthetic limb. I hid it, I couldn't look at it. And then God ministered to my heart. That is just true for ministry. Embrace it. So this was founded on my relationship with God. So I had to bring it out of the cupboard after a week and I had to be looking at it. Okay, since me and this prosthetic limbs were going to be doing life, we had better start getting used to each other. Okay, so Mrs. Alexander, your question, please, while we look for the next one here. You can unmute yourself.
I have a question, but
Yeah.
I just want to add to what, if you permit me.
Please go ahead.
Okay, like what you are saying actually, and I want to just in the question asked by, just an addition to the question asked by the other woman, Omolara Kuki. Yeah. So I just want to add to what you've just said. You mentioned that one of the things for us to, because one of the things is that when we're going through challenges, we lose control. We are hopeless. But what happened is that we do have the power, but we don't realize the power because we're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
We're overwhelmed by we are overwhelmed by the fears, by the problem, we are worried about a lot of things. And for me, sorry, it's my son here, Professor. So, and what happened is that something must shift in your mind. And one thing is that you make that choice. Is either you want to swim or you want to sink. But you must be at that stage of making that choice, realizing the fact that there is your power between response and stimulus. And one of the things, because with my experience for 7 years, I struggled with my last son having disability. And I was overwhelmed by the fear, what people will say, you understand, the fear of the unknown, a lot of things. And that what you are saying is, that resonates with me. And one of the things, that something must shift. And one of the things is that you have to accept the reality of that situation for you to move on. Yes, it's hard, but you have to see hope, to see light, to see opportunity. You have to, in your mind, realize that you have to accept, you have to forgive yourself, because you can think maybe the reason why you are having this problem is because maybe you've not done something right, maybe something happened, but then you have to make sure that you don't allow your fear to overwhelm your faith. That is key. If you want to have joy, if you want to have peace, if you want to be able to see those opportunities, if you want to enjoy the grace of God, because God is merciful. And I like what you said when you mentioned that you have to, that God, I think you said something like the word is your anchor. And that has kept you going. And that's the source of life. Then you have to clarify in your mind that God is not wicked. Because one thing I've realized over time with my son is that every creation is God's intentional, every humanity is God's intentional creation. And God has a purpose for that. So part of it is that is either we choose breakthrough or breakdown.
Yeah. And you got it so right.
Yeah.
And that
Thank
is
you.
what teaching this masterclass is all about, to help us reorientate our perception, our perspective, our mindset about the events that has happened to us. And sometimes the events that has happened to us, we didn't ask for it, we didn't call for it. It could be by the wrongful actions of others, like I mentioned earlier. The question is, are you going to go down with it, or you're going to make it a springboard to go up? And that's really the question each of us need to ask ourselves and process for ourselves. And that's why I've put this together, to have profit of pain. I mean, there is profit that can come out of our painful experiences. How do we glean the gems? How do we go and gather the nuggets and use it for something purposeful, something life impacting? If something happened to you and you do not process it in a way that could deliver something significant, something meaningful for you, for others, then it is a waste. And I think it would be double tragedy. I can go through 20 long years of pain, and everything that came with it, of losing my limbs and everything that has come with it, and it will not add up to something of eternal value. No, that it will be a double tragedy. So whatever that experience may be, yours could be one single event. You need to purpose that I'm going to find profit in this. I'm going to find purpose through it. I'm going to discover something out of this that I can use for others and for God's glory. And I can tell you upfront that it is possible. And it's a matter of choice. And I thought that it is necessary to teach people how to be able to do this. That's why we're putting together the Profit of Pain course. And the link is already in the comment box if you're interested in joining us for that course. It's going to take only 20 people. And if you want to be part of my mentoring group, where I can help you hold, in a group, not on a one-on-one, to answer all these questions that we face and how we deal with all this, the hiccups along the way when we're going through this journey of life, especially when the events that happen to us take us on a trajectory that we did not expect or plan for, then we can't do it alone. That's the question, what I'm going to share with you. The truth is that don't walk this journey alone. Don't let your life event isolate you. Don't let it put you in a cave of confinement. You need a safe environment where you can bear it open. Or somebody who has gone through it, who can comfort you with the same comfort they have been comforted. And believe me, to date, I can say that I have worked with people with missing limbs. I have worked with people in toxic relationships. I've worked with people going through different diverse challenges. The principle is the same. The principle is the same. Knowing how to transform pain to purpose. Whatever that pain may be, whichever way it had happened, we can transform it to purpose. Ultimately, God's words tell us that he will work it all together for good for those who love him and are called according to his good purposes. I know that God loves me. And I know that what he passed me through is for a reason, because God doesn't do accidents, coincidences, or things that are not purposeful, things that will not add value to his kingdom agenda. And there is somebody who is waiting at the end of your dark tunnel to light the candle of hope with you from your candle, if you keep your candle of hope burning while you are going through. Okay, any other questions or clarifications about the services that comes with it? And if there's something that you have learned today, please don't hesitate to share it. And if there are others that you think have benefit from this, please don't hesitate to let them know. We're going to make the link available in a YouTube, and that will be available to people who are have the YouTube link in a participated in this masterclass today. And that's why we want you to leave your name in the comment box so that we can email you the link when it is ready, and you will have it for future understanding and reference for you. Any more questions or comments? Yes, there is profit in the pain. Yes. The question is, how do we find it? How do we discover it? And that's the support that I bring to you. I can help you to find that. Praise God. Good. Yeah, you can decide to swim, or yeah, please leave your email. Please, you can, yeah, leave your email address. If you want to have the link, the course link is also here, Profit of Pain. If you would like to have one-on-one coaching, you have the email address. If you want to join the mentoring group, you have the email address. And if you want to join the Facebook group, you also have the link to it. All right. It's been 1 hour, 37 minutes. I think I have taken enough of your evening. We're going to be wrapping it up now if we don't have any other comments or questions. And again, click the link and register for the course and all the other services that you may be interested in. Opportunity to leave your email addresses here before we wrap it up for this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of our masterclass today. We will let you know when the next one will be coming up. It will be on our social media handle. I want to appreciate your presence here. If you don't come, I will just be talking to myself. And for every one of you who has been here today, I hope that you're taking away something that you will find useful in your journey through life. God bless you real good.